You know, there's a feeling that seems to be spreading across the world. It's a quiet, persistent sense of unease, a feeling that something is fundamentally wrong. It's almost like an emotional hum in the background of our lives. So, in this explainer, we're going to explore what that feeling is, try to trace where it comes from, and think about how we might start to find our way through it.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever had one of those moments, a strange feeling of detachment, where the world around you just seems a little muffled or distant, almost like you're in a dream? If that sounds at all familiar, I want you to know that you are really not alone in this.
Well, this experience actually has a name. It's called derealization. It's basically the mind's natural defense mechanism kicking in. It's a way of coping with overwhelming stress by creating a bit of emotional distance. And what's really striking is that something once considered a rare clinical symptom has become incredibly common. Some studies show that up to 74% of people report feeling this way from time to time. It's like a signpost, pointing toward a much larger shared issue. That feeling of unreality, it's a symptom of a much broader condition. This isn't just about you or me and our individual stress. This is about a collective crisis. We are living through a period of widespread chronic anxiety, and it's something that's beginning to reshape our culture itself. Globally, we're talking about more than 300 million people now living with diagnosed anxiety disorders. And that number, it's not just a statistic. It represents a quiet epidemic of distress that's been building for decades now. And this chart really shows you the staggering speed of this change. Since just 1990, the prevalence of anxiety disorders has jumped by over 55%. So this isn't some slow burn, it's a rapidly accelerating public health crisis, and it's being felt most sharply in high-income societies, where the pressures of modern life are, well, the most concentrated. Researchers even have a term for this general feeling: ambient dread. It's a kind of free-floating anxiety that doesn't really attach to any one specific cause. Instead, it colors our entire experience of the world with this persistent underlying sense of impending threat. So, the big question is, where does this pervasive dread come from? To even begin to understand its source, we have to look at the technology that's now woven into the very fabric of our daily lives. This slide really peels back the curtain on the architecture of that anxiety. The digital platforms we use every day are intentionally designed to maximize our engagement. And as you can see, the process starts by prioritizing high-emotion content, things like outrage and fear. This directly exploits our natural cognitive vulnerabilities, which encourages compulsive use. And ultimately, it just leaves us in a state of emotional exhaustion. It's a cycle, one designed to hold our attention, often at the direct expense of our well-being. And this digital environment is particularly powerful when it comes to young people. Studies show that a staggering 95% of adolescents use social media daily, and a full third of them describe their use as almost constant. In a very real way, they are growing up inside this architecture of anxiety. And right here lies the paradox of it all. Our devices, they feel like intimate companions, don't they? They know our habits, they respond to our touch. But as this slide shows, this manufactured intimacy is actually designed to foster a deep psychological dependency. It turns a perceived companion into an incredibly powerful tool for emotional manipulation. This dependency is what fuels behaviors that have become all too common, like doom scrolling. The compulsive need to consume negative news online. It's not just about staying informed. It's a constant input of psychological distress that slowly, headline by headline, just wears down our emotional resilience. Now, this internal feeling of anxiety, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's actually mirrored by a profound shift happening in the outside world, the breakdown of the social bonds and institutions that are supposed to hold us all together. What we're living through can be understood as a form of cultural trauma, but it's not the result of one single big event. It's more of a slow, insidious erosion of our shared values, our identity, and our sense of security happening over time. And you can see that erosion of security so clearly in this data. When more than half of the entire world's population says they have little to no trust in the very institutions meant to provide stability, our collective sense of security just shatters. This shows that the anxiety we feel inside has a very real, tangible cause on the outside. This disconnection is also deeply personal. As this slide shows, it's not just about institutions. Right now, as many as 30% of older adults experience chronic loneliness. This is a silent epidemic, with physical health risks that are comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And this brings us to the central irony of our age, doesn't it? We have built a world with unprecedented digital connectivity, yet within it, so many of us have never felt more profoundly isolated.
Understanding the scale of this problem, that's the first step. The next is to ask, so what can be done? We're now going to shift from diagnosis to exploring a calm, clear path forward.
We can start by taking practical, evidence-based steps as individuals. This means cultivating a sense of resistance. It means setting intentional boundaries with our technology. It means prioritizing real, face-to-face connection over digital interaction, and actively working to rebuild the local communities that have become so fragmented. It's about resisting isolation by finding and creating a shared purpose. But look, individual action, while it's absolutely essential, is not enough. We also have to call for larger structural change. As this path shows, that means regulating digital spaces to reduce emotional manipulation. It means strengthening the social safety nets that help ease the economic anxiety fueling this crisis. It requires expanding access to community-based mental health care. And finally, it means promoting digital literacy as a core essential skill for modern life. The warning presented by this research is delivered with real gravity. Confronting this age of ambient fear is not something we can afford to just ignore. Our ability to find meaning, to build community, and ultimately to hold on to hope, it all depends on our willingness to recognize what is happening and to act. So the question left for each of us isn't whether the world is changing, because it is. The real question is how we will choose to respond to that change, how we will choose to connect with one another, and how we will choose to live within it.